Hey guys, welcome back to the Taekwondo practical application playlist. Today we're going to be talking about recommended black belt. We're going to be finishing things up by looking at kicking in martial arts and where that is practical. Now, something that you will hear from time to time is, in martial arts, kick high for show, but in a fight, kick low. And that is usually pretty true. But one of the things that I like to think about is how devastating a head kick could be. Now in Taekwondo, jump spinning hook kick, that is, one of the hardest kicks that you can throw. And there was a day and a time 20 years ago when I could do that. And now at 43, that's something that, it hurts to think about. But kicking to the head can still be very advantageous, and it's something that I could pull off. There's a comedian that talks about shooting clay pigeons. And he says, don't shoot them in the air, man. Wait till they're on the ground. It's way easier. Same kind of thing. If I can put his head in a much lower position, I could bring it down and maybe use a knee or something like that. Or if I can push him over and then use a stomp, things of that nature, that could be very devastating. What we'll do is we'll look at 8 reasons that you throw kicks practically in self-defense. So, in martial arts, there's a lot of different things. We practice a lot of different stuff. Really what you're training with those kicks and those things like that is a lot of balance and flexibility, right? Round kick to the head, sure, you see it from time to time in UFC, but that's not going to be my opener out on the street or anything like that, right? Worst case you could be in a self-defense situation is on the ground. That's when his friends get involved. That's when he pulls a weapon. You're always looking for the opportunity to escape and disengage. So one of the things that plays into that is the idea of reach. If we've talked about ranges, right? This is that punching range. If I'm here, we could be banging, but here, he's not expecting me to come in with that kick, right? I'm using my reach advantage, and I can actually use as a teep and kind of push. If he's stepping forward, his momentum is coming in, and I can blast him with that teep kick. That is very helpful. We can also throw that a little bit lower. We can throw it to the knee, things of that nature. The hip is it's not exactly your center of balance, but it's pretty close, and if you catch a foot on someone's hip as they're coming forward with a push, you can really serve to unbalance them, and that can allow you to get away. Another thing, if I'm squared up here and he's squared up there and I come in with a kick as my opener, there's an element of surprise there. I do feel that in a self-defense situation, a kick, and especially a kick to the sternum, or the stomach, or the groin, anything on that center line, easy to throw, can be a very good opener because it's unexpected. Now, you got to know a little bit about who you're getting into it with and what their stance is and things like that, or whether or not it's a good idea. Because again, think of that balance. This guy here, right? He looks kind of like a wrestler. I probably don't want to pick up my leg like that because I might end up in a bad position. Next thing that we'll talk about is just vulnerable targets, right? We talked about getting the head to the ground, man. If I could take him to the ground and I could do a stomp, the heel of my foot, very hard, soft target on the face. But the classic one, right? We'll talk about it, is using your instep, right? And just blasting up right to the groin, okay? Again, I can do it from here. I can also close a lot of different distance. I could skip forward and hit coming in there to the groin. Very good opener as well. Can close distance with it. The other way to do that, instead of skipping up and hitting the groin there with the instep, I could lift my foot higher and come in and hit with the heel of my foot and push out. That allows, I got to pick him up 1 second. All right, we're back, and he's back. So that idea of that push, right? So I can come in, I can put it. I'm not hitting impactful there. I'm just pushing. And if I close distance and do that, it's great. Also, sometimes you might be, he might swing. I might end up over here. If I put my foot on him and just push, I could introduce him to a wall, a table, and create an opportunity to get away, which plays into escape, but also think about leverage, right? I can create a lot of leverage with my leg. And if I'm in a position where he's facing this way and I can, just push with my foot, I can do a lot of movement to him. Same thing if he's on the ground. It's just pushing in with that leverage. And again, we're doing that to create options for escaping. That is the primary reason that you're going to use a kick in a self-defense situation. Is it's either it's going to end it, right? I did that face stomp, boom, we're done. or I'm creating that opportunity where I can push you and then get away, right? Another thing that's very nice about kicking is its low visibility, right? If I'm up here and we're coming in and we're doing this, you know, a nice knee can do a lot of damage, and it's not something that you can see. You know, another move that I really like is those foot sweeps, right? If I foot sweep, that's like a very low kick, and then I'm pushing down, same type of thing. I'm creating that leverage, I'm unbalancing, and I'm using that as an opportunity to escape. And then lastly, I'm not wearing shoes, right? But if I were, shoes are padded, they have soles. You basically have a weapon in that you're wearing footwear. Now it depends on what footwear you're wearing. If I'm wearing flip-flops, unless I kick them off at you as a distraction, they're probably not gonna help me out. But if I'm wearing, like, you know, work boots or things like that, suddenly, you know, stomps become something that can be very, very useful. You know, you'll see it in the cage from time to time where people get in and they throw that stomp down at someone's foot. Well, if you are in work boots and you're, you know, hitting your heel forcefully into someone's instep, yeah, that can do a lot of damage. You know, you follow that up with that knee to the midsection of the groin, and chances are you're well on your way to being out of that encounter. So again, just that reach advantage, right? That element of surprise, the fact that we can use, you know, a foot, you know, something that's very, very hard, and we could strike an area that is soft, like the groin, or if we get the head down lower, leverage, you know, using that leverage to push and to escape. The fact that they're very low visibility, you know, hard to see a kick. If we're in close here, you're not expecting that kick. And then lastly, the fact that we have footwear can make it, you know, better than just our hands, which are, you know, bare. You know, a shoe provides a lot of padding and, you know, some different things that we can do. Can also, you know, limit your mobility, your ability to twist and turn, things like that. Can give advantage to someone if they're trying to, you know, do an ankle lock or something like that. But again, don't get on the ground. Use kicks primarily to do extreme damage to end, or to set yourself up to get in a better position to exit. And that's going to conclude kind of this sequence on practical application of martial arts techniques. Again, this is just kind of a Taekwondo playlist breakdown, looking at some you know, traditional Korean karate and where you can actually apply it in self-defense situations. I hope you guys have a wonderful day.